Hi, I'm Owen.
And I'm Lynn.
And we're safe in our little North Carolina home during this pandemic.
And we hope you're safe too.
Since we're home and safe, we thought this would be a wonderful time to share with you a recap of our 2020 winter trip, which started out to be a trip to Florida, but ended up being, what?
A little bit more than that.
We'll share with you a few things in this video, such as why we chose Florida in the first place, since we've been there many times before.
And how this trip was different.
A few of our top experiences, the things we're going to remember when we're 80 years old.
We'll also share with you some of our packing decisions that we made.
And we'll discuss a few of the issues that came up while we were traveling, both with the weather and the van.
And we also wanted to share some of the facts about this trip.
Such as miles per gallon and things that the guys will really want to hear.
Yeah.
And we'll talk with you a little bit about what we plan to do differently the next time we go back to Florida.
Which I'm sure at some point there will be a next time.
I think there always is for us.
I know.
So why do we always end up going to Florida? Well, the first reason is there's lots of sunshine. Many people, millions of people, every winter try to trek down to Florida to take in that sunshine when it's cold at home, and we do the same thing. There's beaches, and there's water, and there's just lots of things that we love.
Right, and being able to be outside in the wintertime really helps us a lot too.
Yeah.
So we really enjoy that.
It's relatively close to our North Carolina home.
And we love their state parks. We've traveled Florida many years, and we really love their state parks.
We do. And if you've been following us for any time at all, you know that last year we drove all the way to Alaska. We put in 17,000 miles, and we were gone for a little over 4 months. When it came time to go this year, we really thought we'd want to go to Arizona and take in the desert, but we just couldn't bring ourselves to drive that far again that soon. Yeah. Maybe next year. That
was the main reason, actually.
So how was this trip different from other years when we've gone to Florida? How many years have we gone to Florida? 8. This is our 8th year that we spent the winter, at least part of it, in Florida.
Right.
So how was this year different?
Well, it was different from last year because last year we went down and we didn't book anything in advance. We wanted just to see if we could boondock
and pull that off.
It was our first year we had the van. In years prior to that, we always had a place to go. So it's a little different.
So in this year, we set out in December to book the first 4 weeks that we were going to be in Florida, starting on my birthday on January 11th. So why did we do that?
So I think we wanted to be able to stay longer in places and then go to some of our favorite places that we found last year.
Yeah. So that worked out really well for booking January, but when we began to try to book February, in the month of January, things got a little harder, didn't they?
They did, and it limited us to the amount of time we could stay in one place, but we were always able to find places to stay.
We were. We wanted to try to stay this year 3 to 4 nights at every park. Last year we were able to get 1 and 2 nights at each park that we wanted to go to, but we wanted to stay a little longer this year. In January we did that. In fact, we stayed at Tomoka State Park for 11 nights, and we loved it there. But when it came to February, I think 3 nights was the most we were able to put back to back like that.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing that we did different this year is that we stayed north where we were targeting cooler weather.
Yeah, so as it started to turn into the 80s, last year we just kept going south. So weather turned from the 80s to the 90s, and we experienced a summer in the winter. But this year we wanted to try to keep the weather in the 60s and 70s. So we headed across the state and then actually left Florida and went into Mississippi and Alabama and Tennessee. And that brings us to another thing that was different this year too. We actually returned on the Natchez Trace Parkway. That was a neat way to end this trip, wasn't it?
It was neat and different.
So next we'd like to share with you a few of our favorite campgrounds. We told you how much we love the Florida state parks. So the first one.
I guess our first one would be Tomoka State Park. We actually stayed there the longest of any park we stayed at. We stayed there 11 days.
We booked 10 days, and then we ended up adding 1 more day because we just loved it.
Yeah, we loved the area. And
the weather wasn't the best while we were there. It rained on us a few times.
Right.
And Maggie made a friend and Annie, and we met up with subscribers Mike and Stephanie as we went to a private beach a couple of times. One of our best experiences.
It was. I mean, and that's the best thing about traveling is meeting new people and making new friends.
It is. Another one, and we've been to this one before as well, was Olino State Park. When we were there, we did the 12-mile hike and really stretched ourselves to do that.
Yeah.
And I think your favorite hike that we did while we were gone this time was there at Olino, over the bridge and to the sinkhole.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a very pretty area.
It is for sure. In Oxlockonee River State Park, we only got one night there. We've never gotten more than one night at that park. But next year when we go back, we're going to try to book several nights there because we really love it there.
The water there is just absolutely gorgeous. We definitely wish we had some
water toys
while we were there. So
the white squirrels that are there, those are just so cool to see. And there's fishing, and it's where two rivers come together. It's in the middle of nowhere, but it's one of our favorite places.
Yeah, and it's a really, really small campground, which we seem to like too. So.
Yeah. So this year we had a few surprises that crept into our favorite campground list. First one was
the Little Talbot State Park.
We got to rent kayaks and go out onto an island and see the rare white pelicans.
That was awesome. It was an awesome experience.
Another cool little bitty campground, and not a lot of campsites, out in the middle of nowhere, but you could get to Jacksonville pretty quickly, and we loved that little park.
We did. We would definitely go back there.
The second one on that list is kind of strange because it's not in Florida. In fact, it was our very first campground, Huntington Beach State Park in Myrtle Beach. It's actually Myrtle's Inlet, but people call it Myrtle Beach. The Atalaya Castle that was there, that's just so cool to go through, and the causeway with all the birds and alligators.
And lots of places to ride your bike. We've been there before, but it's been a lot of years ago, but
yeah,
we really, really enjoyed it this
Less
time.
than 5 hours from our house.
Right.
I keep telling Lynn, when this thing lifts this time, that's a place we need to go back to.
But it is very, very hard to get in there, so you definitely need to make your reservations way in advance.
Way in advance. And why don't you tell them about the one that you really liked that was such a big surprise?
Yeah, it was the Myron B. Hodge City Park. It was really cheap. It was right on the water, and we were just driving down the road, and we didn't have any place to stay for that night. And actually, we were at Cedar Key, weren't we?
Yeah.
And
we chose to stay there instead of Cedar Key.
Yeah, we chose to stay there instead of Cedar Key because there were so many bugs at Cedar Key. So, I mean, it was cool. I mean, it was right in the middle of nowhere. We backed up right to the water.
Yeah.
We wish we could have stayed a little bit longer there also.
But our one night that we had at Oxlockonee River State Park was the next night. We almost canceled that one to stay at that little Myron B. Hodge place. So that tells you how cool that was for us.
We're glad we didn't.
Really glad we didn't. So if you guys know me, you know I like to eat. And we always try to find neat places to eat whenever we're traveling. And this time was no different. We're going to narrow it down to three.
Three of our favorites.
Best pizza you've ever had in your life?
Oh, yeah. Pizza Time in St. Augustine was probably the best pizza I've ever had.
Ever.
And we've eaten a lot of pizza.
Best customer service, nicest people, and the very best pizza. New York style pizza. It was ranked the #2 pizza restaurant in the United States at one time. So
it's just, I think a lot of it was the experience of going in there and getting to see the pizzas and picking out the one you want and then putting it in the oven and heating it up. And it was an awesome experience.
It was.
And plus the pizza was great.
It was. And the garlic knots were great. My mouth is watering just thinking about that. Coming in at #2 was also a surprise. We got to go to Crystal River, and after we finished our excursion there, we were hungry. We found the crab plant of Crystal River. It was the best seafood we had on this entire trip. It was so fresh and
very, very pleasant surprise. And actually the people that took us on the excursion was the ones that recommended the place. So I don't think we would have ever known about it or chosen it if somebody else hadn't recommended it. So that's the best way to find good places.
Just a little place that they sell seafood, and then hidden back behind the side there's a door that says restaurant, and you feel like you're walking into the kitchen, but you're not. And you go in through there, and then back on the water they have that little restaurant. And it was an awesome little find, and one that's starred on our map now that we'll go back to.
Most definitely. Another one that was our favorite was not in Florida, but it was in Mississippi.
Natchez, Mississippi.
It was the Biscuits and Blues.
And they have music there, but
We didn't get to see any
Yeah,
music.
things had already started to change because of the coronavirus, so there was no music or anything going on while we were there, but we did get to eat on our way home, and it was a memorable experience, both for the setting and for the food.
Yeah.
It was just
great.
fantastic. If you like food from New Orleans and you really love that style of food and Cajun food, it's the place to go for sure. I'm hungry.
So, Owen likes to eat, but I like to get out and hike and get out in nature. So some of our favorite hikes on this trip were
The Olino Bridge hike.
Yeah.
It's only about 2 miles to get all the way around, and it's an awesome little hike. But you just love it every time we go, don't
It's
you?
just serene and lots of trees and lots of water, and it's a really good.
Wildlife, and there's not a time that we've ever taken that hike that both of us haven't gotten teary-eyed when we've gotten to the portion where the river disappears underground and goes 3.5 miles and comes back up.
It's beautiful.
So
I don't know that this was our favorite, but we did. I don't remember who we were watching, but we were thinking we need to be more adventurous.
oh, we were watching
From She to Me.
Deb and yes, From She to Me.
So we decided we were going to do this 12-mile hike
Yeah.
at Olino also. So
Yeah, it's John and Deb's fault because they keep making us look like we don't do as much. So it was 12 miles. The entire time you're walking the 6 miles out, you think this is going to be worth it. It's going to be epic. It's going to be worth it. It's going to be epic. And as much as I tried to talk Lynn into thinking it was epic, it really wasn't.
Yeah.
It was just that you accomplished something.
you did. It was a big accomplishment. I really wanted those birds to land on the water. Way up there. Down here, it's a good place. Right down here. I hear you. Come down here. We'd like to see you. It would be awesome. No? Maybe. We're just flying around. There's a bunch of them.
Are there?
Yeah.
Doves?
No, they're geese. Over here. So it would be epic.
But it wasn't. The only thing epic was that we actually hiked in one day 12 miles, almost 13 miles,
Yeah.
and it was
pretty
really
good for
cool.
us.
We were tired and we rested well that night.
We did.
So if you know I like to eat. She loves to go on hikes. She also loves to find seashells. So when we go to anywhere that has a beach, you're going to see her out walking around trying to find agates and seashells. We did a lot of hiking on the beaches there so Lynn could find pretty seashells. And you found a lot of them, didn't you?
I did.
What was your best find?
I guess the starfish that we were on the private beach with Mike and Stephanie.
Yeah,
So
it was
never
cool.
found a starfish before, so it was really, really cool.
And then we took a side trip over to San Blas, and that was one of the most beautiful, serene, white sand beaches we've ever been on, isn't
The
it?
drive there was just gorgeous, and then being able to get out and walk on the beach was even extra special.
Every trip is full of wow moments. And that's the thing. No matter how much we travel, we find out there's always something cool everywhere we go. And Lynn has taught me to really look for those cool wow moments. So we'd like to take a few minutes and share with you the things that when we're older, we're going to look back and remember.
I guess the
Wait
first
a
one.
minute. You've got a bug in your hair here. Ooh, 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 ooh.
It's taking you a long time.
Well, he hid.
Oh, crap. Get it
Oh,
out.
I got it. Okay.
I guess one of the first wow moments would be swimming with the manatees. And then along with that, there were snakes involved. So
At Crystal River.
at Crystal River.
We got to spend the day with our friends John and Sharon, who drove up from St. Petersburg, and just being in the water with manatees and swimming around and snorkeling, that's awesome. If I ever talk Lynn into buying a sailboat, I'm going to have to get better at snorkeling, though, because I'm
Not very graceful.
not the most graceful fart in the
I should
water
have got
for
that
sure.
on camera.
No, I'm glad
I think
you
I
didn't.
did, but he didn't put it on a video.
Another wow moment was really from Maggie. Our friends, the Ragtops, Mr. and Mrs. Ragtop, invited us to stay at their home in Apalachicola. And Maggie participated in their dog parade on Mardi Gras. And man, that was the coolest thing. All the people and all the dogs. And
it was an awesome experience.
Yeah,
so if you're ever in that area at that time, it's definitely worth going to.
You know how you travel around and you think, you're in the back of your mind, you're always looking for, is this a place I could live? Is this a place we could move? And a lot of people do that. You know, you try to find where you're going to settle down if you stop traveling. That's definitely on our list of places that we could buy a house on that water there and just be happy as clams.
Another wow moment for us was when we went to Little Talbot Island State Park and went on the kayak trip and actually got to see white pelicans. It was awesome.
It was just perfect, wasn't it?
It was awesome.
It was a heck of a paddle back over to the park, but it was worth it.
It was.
While we were gone, we also got to see our very first spaceship launch in person. We saw the SpaceX rocket launch from the National Park seashore, and that was just such a, you just had to be there. The video doesn't do it justice. None of it does it justice. But to see and feel and hear that thing go up is something you remember, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think all the anticipation and the days in advance that we tried to plan to go, we didn't get to go. When we finally got to go,
they called it off twice,
yeah,
and we were planning to get up. Anyway, that video is available too, and all the videos for these wow moments, I'll put a link to them either up here on the top or in the description below, so you guys can look those up if you haven't seen them. And for us, you know, we see a lot of beauty, but nothing tops seeing the beauty of sunsets. And your two favorite sunsets this time were?
Tomoka for sure. I mean, it was just
those colors
awesome.
were just spreading out everywhere around us.
And we're always looking for sunsets, so
yeah,
that was spectacular.
Destin, Florida is famous for having beautiful sunsets, and we caught it on a day when there were enough clouds and the sun was going down just right. And we saw one of the most beautiful sunsets over an ocean that we've ever captured.
Right. And sitting on a white sandy beach made it even better.
Pouring sand down. It was perfect.
It was awesome.
It was perfect.
It was awesome.
So you guys are always asking us how we go about packing and what mistakes we make whenever we pack. So we thought we'd share with you a few things that we packed that we didn't really need and didn't use. And then a few things, well, actually only one thing, that we wish we had packed.
It's hard to pack because you never know what the weather is going to be, if it's going to be hot or if it's going to be cold. So we try to take both.
Right.
But this year, since we were chasing cooler weather instead of hotter weather, we definitely took too many swimsuits and too many shorts and T-shirts.
Warm weather things. We usually, if you look at the videos, most of the time we had on long sleeve shirts and long pants. We took way too much warm weather things. But on the other hand, we didn't take too many cold weather things either. We had just about the right amount, but we could have left some of those things at home that we didn't use, like extra swimsuits and flip-flops and other things. Another thing that we took that we never use, and I don't know why we don't use it, the toaster oven. We bought that thing to use in the van, and we use it a ton at home. We just used it just a few minutes ago. But we never use it in the van, so we always end up putting it up. This time we kept it out for maybe a week or so, and then we stuck it under the bed, and it never showed its face again until we got home. I keep saying if we don't use it, we don't need to take it, but we use it so much at home that we think we're going to use it on the road, but
we don't. I guess you just cook different when you're on the road.
I guess we cook outside.
Yeah.
And so it's a little different.
We don't need it. And you have to move it. I think another thing the reason why we put it under the bed is that it kind of rattles a little bit, so we have to move it every time we pack up. So
we took a lot of fishing equipment. I never fished one single time. I did fish in Alaska, and I love that. I'm glad I took it all the way there. Yeah. I fished one time there, but it was a lot of fun. I never used it on this trip because since we chased cooler weather, we really weren't around any bodies of water that I wanted to rent a kayak and go out and go fishing. And it took up a lot of room, so that's I don't know. I don't know if we'd leave it at home or not, but
I think too, we'll get to this in a minute. If we had kayaks of our own,
might have used it more.
Might have used it more.
Yeah. So another thing, we're taping this on our iPhone 11 Pros. And we always take a drone and a big camera, a big Sony camera. And this trip, the whole time we were gone, we never used the big camera. And unfortunately, we never used the drone. So taking up space in a little bitty van for things you don't use, I don't know. I don't know about taking it. We are going to commit to trying to use the drone more in 2020. As we move forward, we're going to try to use the drone more. But I think we're going to sell our big camera because the quality of our little phone competes with that. And there's no way the big camera can keep up with the simplicity of just pulling your phone out of your pocket.
Right.
So those are all the things we packed that we probably should not have. But we didn't pack what?
Our water toys.
We did not.
We can't figure that out yet, so the best way of doing it. So that's one of the reasons why we did not pack it. And we were having problems with our backs right before the trip, and we were afraid
we didn't want to have to lug a kayak on and off the roof. We even moved the solar panel and the Thule over so we could actually put a double kayak up on top. But I guess we're getting a little older. Backs are a little tweaky sometimes. Our good friends Jim and Rhonda have Oru folding kayaks, and they love them. And I keep trying to convince Lynn that that would be the best purchase for us, and it would take up the smallest amount of room. But you guys are going to have to help me convince her because she's not sold on that yet.
Yeah.
I wish we'd taken them, though. Every other place we stayed had beautiful water. Yeah. And every place we stayed had some place that I could have gone kayak fishing or we could have gone paddle boarding and had a good time. And if you guys know Maggie, she loves being out on the water.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to figure that out. But when you only have 21 feet and you've got to live in that 21 feet, there's not a lot of room to put something like a kayak and bikes and other things. But if you have suggestions, let us know what you do so that you can carry those things too, because we'd like to learn from you guys too.
Another thing that I think that we should have packed that we didn't pack was Owen's guitar. I really like sitting around the campfire, sitting outside late in the afternoon, and him just picking and playing and singing and stuff. So I really miss that. And you know, we don't get to video it and share it to you if he doesn't bring it. So
yeah,
you can help me convince him.
Ah, see what you're doing now.
Guitar.
Okay, you're right. It's another thing that if I take the guitar, it takes up almost every bit of the overhead storage above the driver and passenger seat. And it makes it a little more difficult to get things in and out. So looking back at Alaska, I made the decision that I didn't use it enough to warrant taking it. But if it means a lot to you, then I'll take it.
Okay.
Anytime you travel somewhere, you're going to have issues. And we had a few. The Travado has been a very, very reliable form of transportation for us. We have loved it. But on this trip, the sliding screen door broke. The little cord at the bottom broke, and it stopped working, and it was almost one of those things where you're going to decapitate yourself when you go through that little thing that's hanging down. That was a pain.
Another thing that we missed on this trip that was an issue for us was we didn't have a working awning.
Yeah, it stopped working in Alaska. It's my fault. I think I left the button pushed in. It burned the motor out. But in Florida, we had, it rained maybe 2 days every week, maybe 3 days. And having the awning to put out to keep chairs and everything else dry would have been a really good thing. We are having it repaired right now, but the mobile tech guys needed a few parts, and getting things during COVID-19 has been a little difficult, but we plan to have that working before we go back out on the road. I think we mentioned before we left our backs were a little bit almost hurting. Well, if you watched any of the videos, you know that by the time we made it to Ross Prairie, my back went from almost hurting to me almost not being able to move around. And I don't think the bed had everything to do with that, but I believe the bed and how hard it is for me had a lot to do with me not being able to recuperate. So one of the projects we're going to do while we're home is to replace the bedding that's there with a real 8-inch mattress and cut that. And we'll show you that later.
Another issue we had this time was with our data. We seemed to have a problem getting unlimited data and data in different places. So we did spend a lot of time at Starbucks and other places uploading videos.
We did. Last year when we went, we had the Verizon prepaid unlimited plan, and we were spoiled. It's like being at home. I mean, you just turn the TV on and watch what you want and stream what you want, upload overnight. And this time, if you watch the video where we chose to use just the data on our phones, that's all we had. We ended up having 125 gigabytes to use for an entire month. And while that sounds like a lot, if you're running a YouTube channel and you're trying to stream what you watch, you have to be frugal. And so that caused several issues.
A few of the facts.
All right, there used to be this show called The Facts. Just the facts, ma'am. And Lynn said, what do you mean by facts? Facts are, how far did we travel? How many miles did we go and how many days? So here are the facts. We were gone for 53 days, from January 10th to March 3rd. We traveled 2,517 miles. We spent a total of $604.29 on gas, and we got 15.4 miles per gallon for the entire trip. That's pretty good for our Travado. On camping, we spent $1,113. The average was $21 per night for the 53 nights. The least expensive site was a free site, the Jeff Busby National Park Campground on the Natchez Trace, and the most expensive was the Topsail Hill Preserve in Destin, which was $54 per night. We didn't boondock any nights this trip, and we mooch-docked at Ragtop's driveway for 3 nights. So there you have it. That's our recap of our 2020 trip to Florida that ended up being a trip to Mississippi and Tennessee and Alabama and crap all over the place, South Carolina. and we're glad you tuned in. We hope these little recaps will help you as you plan trips to these areas. We don't mind at all sharing what we learn, and we sure do love learning from you as you tell us the things that we missed. And that's pretty important too, isn't it? Because the route we took and where we went, our subscribers influenced that a lot, even on this trip, didn't they?
Telling us places that we needed to visit and places we needed to go. So that was awesome.
We're glad you're part of our journey. If you haven't done so already, take a minute and subscribe. It helps our channel a lot.
And if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up.
And until we see you again, please do your best to stay safe. Do what's being asked of you by your municipalities and your government. And we hope we get to park beside of you really, really soon. But until then, happy trails.
And just some of the facts that we found out as we were traveling. I guess that's what that means. What's facts mean? No.
Put it here. It'll be a good place for it.
Put it on my booth. It'll be on yours. Where are you going to put it?
Right there. Does that work?
That works.